Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 32 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNoah.com, and now in Florida, too, as they continue to expand. Well, a good night for the New Orleans Pelicans last night, as significant a win as they've had this year, because they beat a team they hadn't beaten in a long time, the Dallas Mavericks, and they did it in dramatic fashion. Anthony Davis coming up huge when it mattered on both ends of the floor as the Pelicans beat the Mavericks at home, and Lenny beat a team ahead of them, and it was a great day for the Pelicans. First three-game win streak of the year, beat an elite team in the West, and on a day that Oklahoma City and Phoenix lost. This was a really good day.
It was a good day, and one game behind in the loss column, behind the Suns right now for the 8th spot in the West, a game clear of Oklahoma City. So this is a very key stretch for New Orleans. Starting with the Sunday night game against the Mavericks, they turn around, play a rare home back-to-back, and actually they're going to do it twice in a 2-week span here with Philly on Monday night. They're in the midst of a stretch of 9 out of 10 at home, and they need to be able to make some hay in this stretch. You're going to play some good teams in there. Yes, there's a key back-to-back stretch against Oklahoma City coming up next week. They could have a lot to say about where the Pelicans stand heading into the All-Star break, but this is really a key stretch as you go into the break. With that stretch of home games, you've got to be able to take care of business and hold serve at home.
You certainly do, and with Philadelphia here, revenge certainly a motive against a bad team. They lost 2 on the road. Denver, not that good. Coming in here, you'll be favored. You've got to take care of business in these 2 games in particular to set yourself up.
Right. A tough one on Friday night with the Clippers coming to town, one of the best in the West. Chris Paul always, when he comes back here, he's got a little bit of bounce in his step, so to speak. But, this, like you say, starting with Monday night against Philly, that one probably still stings a little bit, letting that one get away, a game you certainly should have won as you go back to that East Coast trip from a week and a half ago. And, it really begins there.
Well, the Pro Bowl, I didn't watch it. I saw snippets, and that's good enough. I mean, really. Happy for Jimmy Graham that he scored a touchdown and was able to dunk, okay? And Drew Brees threw a touchdown pass to Jordy Nelson. That's great. Mark Ingram played. Listen, I didn't watch. I saw a couple of highlights. That was it.
I tuned in quickly, tuned right back out. The thing that I wonder, it could be the biggest thing that we saw in the Pro Bowl is this. They experimented with narrower goalposts. Is that something that's going to grow some legs? I don't think trying extra points from the 15-yard line is going to work. You have to have some sense of, I don't want to say automaticness to it, but it needs to be, shouldn't be, Pro Bowl kicker shouldn't be missing 2 extra points either. All that said, is that going to be the legacy of this game this year? Is that maybe we see some impetus for the goalpost to go from 18 feet 6 inches to 14 feet 6 inches. It'd be interesting to see what comes of that.
We see missed kicks in a Pro Bowl every year because you don't have holders. I mean, basically guys that are elected to the Pro Bowl typically aren't holders, and we see that mechanism of the exchange and the hold just not being good enough. So that's no surprise. As for college basketball, it was a big win for LSU on the road. They trailed much of the second half at Vanderbilt, got to even, and then Tim Quarterman picked it up in overtime, and they win. Of course, as usual, Martin and Mickey had big games, and this is par for the course for LSU. It's like they play every game this way.
One blowout so far in the SEC, and that was an impressive win at Florida, but everything else has been down to the wire. 3 of their first 6 games in the league have gone to overtime. So a couple of chances to add on to the record this week. South Carolina at home, then they go to Mississippi State, who's not a very good team, but again, you've got to go on the road, and we've seen what has happened thus far when they've played teams that LSU should be better than on paper. On the road, it becomes a challenge.
Center position has been a challenge, and the guard position up and down for them, the 2 constants obviously, and Quarterman's been really good for them. So they've got to be a little bit more consistent, but the talent is definitely there. Tulane, a tough loss to Memphis, trying to sweep them, played that game at Smoothie King Center, and I thought television did a pretty good job of trying to hide the crowd. What can you do? You knew there weren't going to be many people there.
Well, you had the curtain down from the upper deck, which wasn't a bad idea. I mean, look, it's they've got to. You can't just flip a switch overnight and suddenly build back your base. And I think it's a good idea for them to try to play a game or 2 downtown every year to, potentially, provide a little bit better setting. Plus, I think you're playing nice with the league, if you will, in terms of, playing some games in a facility that's much larger than Devlin Fieldhouse. I think, had the schedule worked out, I think you'd have seen a couple other games down there this year. For instance, the UConn game at home is the same night as a Pelicans game, so they couldn't do that. But all in all, when you look on the floor, that was a tough one to let get away if you're Tulane. They've really done a good job of taking care of business of the games they've needed to win. This home stretch they're in the midst of with SMU and Memphis. They've got Tulsa on Tuesday night, who is a surprise league leader at this point and undefeated in the league. Every once in a while you got to jump up and beat one of these instead of just beating the teams you're supposed to beat and losing to the teams you're not supposed to beat.
Yeah, Lou Dabney had a really bad game, unfortunately, because he's such a good player. Had he played decent in that game, they'd have won the game against Memphis, but did not happen, so they're back to 500 in the American Conference. And, of course, when you look at high school sports, we've got a plethora of things going on: high school basketball, high school soccer, high school wrestling, and the soccer and wrestling season starting to get closer toward their state championships, which we'll cover extensively. And, of course, basketball creeping closer toward the playoffs as we get deep into the first round and in the second round in district play in many instances.
Yeah, and the biggest story on the high school front this week won't be on the basketball court or on the wrestling mat or on the soccer pitch. It's going to be in Baton Rouge, where some decisions are going to get made about the future of this organization in terms of structure. It's going to be interesting to see if the push that was made at some of these satellite meetings last week to possibly defer some of these agenda items, if that actually comes to fruition, or if they're going to go forward with a vote to even splinter these things even further.
And, of course, Super Bowl week here, of course, so look for all the mishmash that's going on over in Glendale, Arizona, and you can read my piece on how you need an elite quarterback to get to the Super Bowl. It's real simple. When you read the piece, you'll get all the numbers and get that a little bit better. We'll have coverage all week long. Al Dupuy will break down the matchups, and we'll look forward to that. Rick Gilly will do the same thing. And, of course, we'll keep you posted on what's going on with what I call R&B. We're not talking about music, but the 3 R's and B in the Saints story. And really, it's one you'd rather not talk about, to be honest with you.
It is. In essence, it is a family matter and a family dispute. The biggest problem is it involves our two professional franchises in town who are worth a collective $1.7 billion, and at least as Forbes is concerned. So that's the only reason that the interest is there. And there's a lot of ancillary aspects to it. How will it affect the operation in the immediate future and the less than immediate future? All remains to be seen. But it's going to certainly play itself out, hopefully in a good fashion for everybody involved in New Orleans.
That's called a tease. Sets us up for Sports Noah TV at 6 p.m. this evening on WHNO Channel 20. We'll discuss that extensively, and if in fact there will be an impact on potential free agents, keeping players, luring people, we'll talk about that against Sports Noah TV, 6 p.m. Monday night, WHNO Channel 20. Lenny, that's going to do it.
All right, have a great week.
That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 32 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond, and now into Florida as well, and growing and expanding. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. Have a great week, and God bless you.